Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is game number 2 here between Grubby and DIMAGA. This time we are on Antigua Shipyard. Game 1 going to Grubby. It was a pretty interesting game, fairly macro heavy. I don't remember the exact length. I think it was around 25 or 30 minutes or something like that. But it turned out to be pretty interesting. We saw a little bit of harass from Grubby in the form of DT, also a little bit of Blink Stalker harass, and he was able to snipe some expansions as well. And that was really the big thing that Grubby was able to do that DIMAGA unfortunately wasn't, was hurt the economy of his opponent. Grubby able to snipe out at least one expansion and then move into the high yield and just do some economic damage that way, plus his Phoenix harass, which was able to do economic damage, really put him in a strong position. Another major issue in that game, of course, was that DIMAGA lost very hefty numbers of Brewlords to Blink Stalkers. He wasn't able to land Fungal Gross properly on the Blink Stalkers and then take them out, preventing them, and also just positioning of his Brewlords, unfortunately. He just got hit in some pretty god-awful spots, and losing that amount of resources, you got to keep in mind, the Brewlord's an expensive unit. Not only are you paying for the Corruptor itself, but then morphing into the Brewlord cost a ton of resources as well. So losing a Brewlord, especially losing, I think he lost like 4 or 5 of them at one point at the end before they even finished morphing. That is a huge, huge loss and a major setback as well. So anyways, yeah, Grubby just had some superior gameplay, and again, DIMAGA not able to return equal amounts of economic harass, and then again, being in those bad positions, just ended up losing him the game. Now, as we can see, DIMAGA once more starting off on one base because he was scouted out pretty much immediately by Grubby, and as mentioned last game, that just makes it very difficult as a Zerg player to expand because of that probe dancing back and forth just like this, and then also the pylon harass that I would not be too surprised if we saw Grubby do here. So there we go, Joan trying to move down. We still have that patrol route now for Grubby, just kind of moving back and around. And is he going to drop the pylon? Oh, no. Very nice. And very unfortunate there for Grubby. Wasn't able to actually disrupt that like he would have liked to. That was beautiful, though. Now, DIMAGA doesn't really have to focus on getting too many Zerglings early on. He could probably actually be pretty content with just 2. He is still deciding to come out with 4, though. I think he just really wants to shoo away this probe as quickly as possible. And I mean, just like harass like this is so frustrating to deal with. And then also getting some map control early on with the Zergling. It's going to be the main effort by him. So there you go. First 2 Zerglings will be used to force away the probe. And then the additional 2 should be fanning out, checking for proxy pylons, and then also if he happens to lose the probe, he wants to make sure that he is able to re-find it. Although I think he should just be able to stay on it and have no problem. Now back over here for Grubby, what are we going to be seeing? It should be either a 1-gate or a 3-gate expand, just what I'm going to assume. And I make these assumptions simply because there's really not much of a reason to do anything other than that, unless he wanted to try crazy 1-base all-in play, which you don't really see a lot of. I mean, gosh, you guys remember the beta, how literally almost every Zerg player 4 or 5 gated every single game? That just really doesn't happen all too frequently nowadays. And DIMAGA actually very nice, very unfortunate rather for DIMAGA, very nice for Grubby, able to take out that Zergling. DIMAGA unfortunately wasn't paying enough attention, and how ballsy is this? Really concerned right now because a small Stalker push, which actually, here it comes. We've got a Stalker and a Zealot right now moving across the map. There is no reason that Grubby should not spot this expansion, and this should be an easy cancel for him. He should be able to easily take that out and force the cancel, and there you go. DIMAGA, realizing that pressure is coming, was like, crap. High yield expansion quickly, really not going to work. So that is unfortunate there for DIMAGA. We do have a little bit of aggression moving across the map. Actually, Zerglings trying to push back in for secondary scouting, and I think that they should be able to get it. I was clicked on the automaton, or whatever that is, and Zergling able to move on in. Just scouting out this pylon on the low grounds, pretty much a dead giveaway that an expansion is coming, and yes, it appears that there will be a 3-gate expand yet again here by Grubby. Proxy pylon over here, once again for Grubby, doing that proxy pylon in a position that's, you know, close to your opponent's side of the map, especially when you spawn cross-positional like we have in these past 2 games. This game and the last game, both players spawning in that cross-positional location. Having these types of proxy pylons really help you in the mid to late game and even early game, and it does look like we will be seeing some early game aggression from this here by Grubby. This is just a beautiful spot too. I mean, you can see warping in right there, and just look at how close that is to the natural and third of his opponent right now. That is very close, and then also in a very safe position. Zealot getting fully surrounded there, though, by those Zerglings, and that's unfortunate for Grubby. Ends up losing those, and actually just losing that Zealot was enough to push him back. He really needed that Zealot as a meat shield, but here we go. We've got some continuation of this push, though. Lots and lots of sentries, and once again, as I mentioned last game, this is going to allow Grubby to force field DIMAGA out of his natural expansion, essentially. Putting a force field here prevents reinforcements from that main of helping this push. And here it comes right now, guys. We're going to be seeing Grubby push against DIMAGA. He did lose the Stalker. He's still got a lot of sentries. Needs to drop some force fields. He does want to save that energy, but losing a sentry already to some drone harass. And there we go. Almost losing a second one. Ends up saving himself with some nice force field wall. We do have a few Zealots coming in, and I'm really concerned for DIMAGA. He could lose its expansion. He needs to get his forces all rallied together at the bottom. Able to stop reinforcement of just 2 Zerglings. I don't know how much that's going to help him. Zergling trying to get us around on those sentries. We do need to see some force fields. There it is. That's exactly what you need. Nice positioning of those Zealots. There are a lot of Zerglings here, and it looks like he's got pretty much just enough to be able to stop this from doing any more damage. He should be able to finally push back these sentries. There aren't enough, and there isn't enough energy for him to keep this up for too very long. Is in danger of losing that queen, though. Trying to micro that back. Gets a little trapped in the corner. Roaches providing just enough of a buffer. There's a final inject larva before he loses his life. The sentry's now very low on energy. We do have some reinforcements prepared to pop in from there. I don't think that Grubby will take up this expansion, although he is keeping up this aggression pretty hard. He does also have his natural expansion up. As you can see over here, Grubby has expanded while he continues to warp in more and more sentries. But here come the roaches from that natural, and that will be enough to deter this push by Grubby from doing any more damage. We got a few stalkers getting warped in to try to help, but it's not really going to be enough to continue the push. So really, unfortunately for Grubby, yes, he was able to do some damage, most certainly. You can see in terms of resources lost, they're about even. My major concern, though, is that he didn't take out the expansion. But with that said, look at this. He's got a beautiful economy right now, just absolutely doing phenomenally. And look at that as well. Quite a bit behind in drone count as opposed to where Grubby is in his probes. So that economic advantage is going to continue to stay strong for Grubby for quite a while. And just stopping the mining at that expansion, all that mining downtime really definitely does hurt DIMAGA quite a bit. And he is actually trying to counteract that by pushing out with a counterattack of his own. Roach is moving forward. Needs to be careful. A little too many forces at the moment for him to deal with, although we do have a few Speelings streaming across the map to help reinforce. My major concern, though, is that Grubby, with this force field action, going to be able to keep DIMAGA out of that natural expansion. But with that said, you do need 3 force fields, and that's quite a lot to try to maintain. Especially if you're trying to do that more than once or twice, you're going to deplete those sentries of energy very, very quickly. And then if you go 2 sentry heavy, you just don't have that robust of a force to deal with these roaches plus those Speelings. So here DIMAGA goes, preparing to try to push up on this, and Grubby caught a little off guard, lets them into his natural expansion. And this is a great opportunity right now for DIMAGA to do a bit of damage. And we have got 2, there's just 1 photon cannon and a pylon coming in. That will get target fire down immediately by DIMAGA, dropping the cannon and then continue to push here with his roaches. Doesn't have any reinforcements coming out, though, so he will just be relying on these roaches that he has left, and that is that. He should be able to do a bit of damage, but with some Stalker Micro, it's going to be very hard for him, especially off this creep, to be able to catch up. The other thing, of course, is that these roaches do not have that speed upgrade. Funneled there in the corner, still trying to catch up to those Stalkers and take down as many as possible, but again, with a little bit of Micro, and here come the probes to assist. One last Stalker gets taken out. We'll be trying to take out a few more workers, not going to be able to get any more Stalkers, and there you go. That is the end of the counter push. We take a look yet again at the resources lost. Grubby actually a little bit behind, about 700 resources behind right now. I'm still concerned, though, for DIMAGA's economy. He's finally just starting to catch up and be about even with Grubby, but that is quite a hefty hit. Let's take a look at army size. Grubby's taking the advantage right now by 10 army supply. Few Speedlings, allowing him to defend himself from a possible counter push from Grubby, although I really don't expect it. I think right now what Grubby is thinking about doing is just working his way up, continuing to maintain his strong macro and economy, and work his way up to some higher tech. Doesn't really want to stick continuously on these gateway units for too long. You can see he is working up in a Robotech. The other possibility would have been try to go into a Twilight Twilight Council, but that's obviously not happening here for him. So there you go, working his way right now up into Robotics Facility Tech. Probably, I'm going to assume Colossus is what we will be seeing from him. That's certainly the most logical thing. DIMAGA now finally coming out with his 3rd expansion. We also have a macro hatch here in the main base. Roach speed coming through, pathogen glands as well for those infestors. We've got 4 infestors coming through. Unfortunately, 1 overlord gets taken out. That scouting overlord spotted by the pylon placement here by Grubby. And again, Grubby now deciding to move his way into his 3rd expansion. As I just mentioned, we're expecting him to just kind of work on his macro, work up his forces, everything like that. Do have an observer being chrono boosted out. We should be seeing that robotics bay come down very shortly for Grubby. Level 1 armor upgrade coming out for his ground units. He already has level 1 weapons finished. Let's take a look at upgrades over here. DIMAGA, for those ground units. Is he getting the ranged upgrade? I'm really not sure, actually. We got an evolution chamber coming out. Actually, that will be his first. So no upgrades yet at all here for DIMAGA. So hopefully he gets started on that. But again, we do have infestors in play. Roach infestor is what we'll be sticking with primarily. Also throwing some speedlings into the mix, of course, as well. 3rd expansion now up for DIMAGA. We'll be working to get that saturated. And there we go, finally coming out. Missile attack level 1. So yes, macro is what we'll be seeing right now, at least for the moment, from both players. We do have 1 Zealot scouting out across the map right now. That should be taken out by these Zerglings, just a little bit of micro. He should actually be able to take those out, no problem. Some reinforcement, some fresh Zerglings moving down to finish off that Zealot there. Here comes a small push from Grubby, though, and we do have that Twilight Council coming. Actually decided to just go with Immortals and then working his way into Twilight Council tech, but he's about to walk into some very deadly infestors. Here comes the fungal growth landing right on the stalkers, allowing those roaches and speedlings to get within range and take them out. Very beautiful play there. And actually also fungal growth trapping that observer temporarily, doing a little bit of damage. Unfortunately, that does dissipate, and then the observer regains his cloak right immediately after. We get a lot of stalker reinforcements coming out. This push from DIMAGA, he doesn't quite have enough to actually do much damage at all. I think he needs to be a little bit careful. I'm actually really surprised that Grubby dropped that force field wall. I don't think that he knows how little DIMAGA really has right now, but DIMAGA does not have what he needs to contend with this force, at least at the moment. Just doesn't have enough. That's all there really is to say about that. We do have some reinforcement roaches, though. Things looking a little bit better for DIMAGA's push. Obviously, he needs to be concerned about force field wall action that may be taking place. And Grubby trying to make sure that he can defend both his natural and his 3rd at the same time. We got 14 roaches just about to pop. Level 1 weapons upgrade almost done. Also working his way up into Spire Tech. Twilight Council for Grubby will be coming out with some Blink Stalker research. So Blink Stalker is what we'll be seeing Grubby hit with primarily here. He's got these 2 assemblers now finished, working his way up to full saturation there at that natural expansion. More and more reinforcements coming out. Grubby is fully aware of the size and position right now of DIMAGA's units as this lovely observer scout able to spot absolutely everything that's going on over there. Would really like to see right now for DIMAGA a 4th expansion. The problem is, though, on this map, once you start to work your way into your 4th, it gets a little hairy. One possible position is over here. If he breaks down these rocks, he can quickly reinforce and defend that. Also over here. Here comes the push right now. Lots of force fields going down. And oh no, the roaches caught out of position. And that was beautiful by Grubby, catching those roaches completely out of position. DIMAGA, oh my gosh, he's lost his infestors as well. That was a heavy, heavy loss without doing much damage. Now, Grubby was behind previously, but right now he's ahead against DIMAGA, down almost 1,000 resources in terms of what he has lost thus far. That was a major, major loss there. Grubby catching DIMAGA unexpectedly, and actually I just caught, I caught just after that engagement happened. I was caught up by surprise as well, so I'm not going to blame DIMAGA for that one, but geez, that was unreal. Perfect push there by Grubby without taking much loss at all. He did tremendous amounts of damage to DIMAGA. And again, we're going to see the power of Blink Stalkers and Force Fields in conjunction. Now, we do have a Dark Shrine coming out as well. Those level 2 weapons upgrades almost done right now. 10 Mutalisks coming into play. My concern, though, is that those Mutalisks will have a difficult time against those Blink Stalkers. You know, I'm not really sure that they're going to be used effectively in the bulk of the force. I hope that he does move out and attempts some harass with this, though. That's really, especially this small amount of mutants, that's really all they're going to be able to do. We've got 32 Speedlings about to finish right now there for DIMAGA. So DIMAGA trying to bolster his forces with those Speedlings. Speedling's actually quite strong against the Stalkers. The only concern, though, is that with some proper force fields, those sentries can protect those Stalkers and stop them from taking too much damage. Zealot Scout actually managed to spot these Mutalisks moving across the map. And there you go, Grubby fully prepared for that, moving up to his main base with some Blink Stalkers at the same time. We'll be trying to take this high yield expansion in the middle. Here come the Mutalisks trying to do some damage, but the Blink Stalkers, again, a quick and easy response to small numbers of Mutalisks. You saw how quickly those Blink Stalkers were able to force those mutas back. And again, very concerned for DIMAGA economically that he's still just on these 3 bases, and we have got a 4th expansion and a high yield at that coming out for Grubby. It's just getting very, very worrisome for him. Taking a look at the Army Supply tab, pretty much ahead right now. DIMAGA is at 125, only 97 at the moment for Grubby, but Grubby certainly has a very strong composition. Those Blink Stalkers kind of make that number a little bit stronger than it seems otherwise. Some DT harass going down there. We got 4 kills from that one. We got 1 DT that got taken out over there. Is any Dark Templar up in here? No, not quite yet. Bunch of DT getting warped in. And here we go. Grubby will be getting some Archons into play. Hefty Blink Stalker numbers. DIMAGA is near supply cap, but again, those Blink Stalkers and Archons are very, very strong. Doing some pretty awesome damage there against those mutas that didn't manage to take out that pylon, but still ended up losing a few mutalists as a result. Here comes the push right now. Archons moving forward. Blink Stalkers as well. There's the Guardian Shield. And watch this force field wall protect this Protoss army. This is beautiful positioning here for Grubby. All of these roaches are doing nothing right now. They absolutely nothing they can do because of that force field wall. Trying to hold on to those units as long as possible, and this is just tremendous play here by Grubby. The Roach army getting smaller and smaller. We've got 14 Roach reinforcements coming out, but Grubby with some beautiful force field play and some upgraded Stalkers there. I believe they're sitting at 1 armor and 2 weapons, and yes, oh my gosh, Grubby, excellent engagement there. That was picture perfect, absolutely textbook engagement with Blink Stalkers and force fields. He was just in a beautiful position, and look how far behind right now DIMAGA is in terms of resources lost. That was devastating for him. No counter aggression going on at all. Do we have any DT in play? No, we do not. Those were all made into Archons, and there are no longer any left. Level 3 weapons upgrade coming out, and DIMAGA now realizing too far behind. The high yield's up and running. My economy's kind of crap, and just calls the GG. All right, my friends, that is it. Game number 2 here going to DIMAGA. We will be moving on to game 3 in just a moment. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.